Okay. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, it's been like 8 months since I've posted a video. I wonder what I've been doing in that time. Making money. No, I haven't been making money. Making friends. No, I haven't been making friends. Um, Wasting my time. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I had a pretty rough winter. And then COVID hit as soon as I thought, it was going to be fun, a fun spring. But there are some upsides. I got my job got laid off, and so I applied for unemployment. And I'm actually making more on unemployment than I was working my job. So yeah, I've kind of got some money burning holes in my pockets. I'm not even joking. There are literal holes in my pockets. You see that? Yeah, look at that. Holes. Funny, right? I'm a jokester, right? Edit that out. So yeah, what do I do with this extra money burning holes in my pocket? I bought a boat. Yeah, a boat. How much you ask? $500. It's 14-foot Sea King from what I think is 1969. I looked up the VIN number on the motor. The motor's from 72. However, the motor did not originally come with the boat, said the previous owner. Not sure. So, I've already done some work on it that I did not record because I'm an idiot, but I will go over that with you now. So this is the motor. It's a 1972 Montgomery Ward Sea King that the previous owner had spray painted, camouflaged with spray paint, and I said, ew, that's nasty. So I scraped it and I was like, hey, there's a really cool blue under here. So I proceeded to spend 5 hours scraping the paint off of this motor to get it to the shape that it's in now. And while it does look all rough and chippy, I still like it better than the camouflage paint. Montgomery Ward just purchased motors because it was like a catalog, like Sears and Roebuck. So the actual people who actually manufactured these motors was Chrysler. So it's the only time I have ever bought a Dodge and it had to come through a different name. So basically, spent a bunch of time peeling the paint off. Now it's nice and smooth and cool, and get this, it even runs. I'll show you that later because I already did the test in a barrel to get it to run, and my dad helped me get it run, and that would have been cool to see, I'm sure, but I didn't record it. So the next thing I had to do was work on the bearings. Now, why the bearings, you ask? Well, I had to drive this thing an hour away and an hour back to get it to my house, and the bearings barely made it home. The wheels almost fell off. The previous owner got new tires, but put on a size smaller than I normally would like. He put on 4.80s-8s, which some of you might be saying that means nothing to me, and I will say, same. I had to redo the bearings, and so I put these bearing buddies on once I got the bearings done. And so that took about a full day of me running around trying to figure out how in the heck to do bearings because I had never done it before. Yeah. The next thing I had to do was replace the bench. Now, as you can see by this photo, the old bench was very old and very rotted, and it had some pedestal seats on it, but when you sat on it, it basically threw you back because it was so rotted. So what did I do? I replaced the bench. So, as you can see, I used a 2x12, which was a bit tricky because I had to expand these brackets on the side. You have these brackets here. They were only meant to hold in a 3/4 piece of plywood, and I said, I am way too fat to be just sitting on a 3/4 piece of plywood. So I bent them out a bit and just made it so that this board would fit, and then put some green treat supports down under there, and found some old stain that was just lying around because there's always just stuff lying around, and stained it to this color, which it's not that different from the color that it was, but hey, it's something. So that's where I got up until the point where I was like, hey, you know what? You could record this and put this on your channel. So now you're gonna watch a sped up version of me polyurethaning it, and also I'm in a hoop shed and it's raining, and so yeah, Minnesota weather, am I right? here it is, the finished product. Obviously, it's not dry yet, because why would I wait 8 hours just to come out and film a 20-second segment of me showing it off? Psych! I did come back 8 hours later just to film 20 seconds of this. But look at it. It's so nice. It brought the grain out, and it's not as shiny, but obviously that happens when it's dry. So yeah. That's good. So, yeah, on to the next thing, which is dealing with this little guy again. Isn't he just a cool cat? Yeah, we need to lube this guy's lower end. I know what you're thinking, and it's not that. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is start on the lower end unit and change the oil and, What? Why am I wearing different clothes? Well, you don't expect me to finish all my filming in one day, right? I mean, I do have other things to do. So, now I'm just gonna, I'm gonna take out the oil and put in new oil and yada yada yada. So let's do that now. Okay, so basically, if you don't know how to change it, I did a quick YouTube search and found it, so I'm gonna talk like I'm an expert here. Basically, there's two plugs. There's one here and one here. And you take those out, drain the oil, and then I've got this nifty little pumper thing, which I screw in. And then pump her up, close her up, and then we're good. So, shouldn't take too long. So let's get this guy. Wow, there was nothing in here. Like nothing. I'm glad I decided to do this. Okay, so now I got this little doohickey that I just screw up in here. And, now the science behind this is that this is supposed to prevent oil from coming out of here when I take this off. But sometimes theoretical science doesn't always pan out. So I've got my plug ready just in case. Alright, here we go. Why am I not using an actual screwdriver? Because I don't want to go up and get one. You'll find that a lot of my motives, a lot of the reasons I do things are because I'm just plain lazy. So that's always the first thing. And you sit there and you ask yourself, why isn't he doing this? Yeah, the answer is mostly because I'm lazy. So yeah, and then since we don't want to harm Mother Nature's waters, we wipe off all the grease and oil and the fun stuff here. There we go. Lower end unit is done. Oil is changed. And we are ready for the water. Alright, so the next part is mounting the seat onto the boat. What? Oh, I'm wearing another new shirt? Okay, you seriously, just stop focusing on my outfit and focus on what I'm trying to tell you, okay? Okay, so basically I've got to mount the seat onto the bench, but I want to do that on the water so that I don't, capsize and drown and die. So, yeah, let's go to the lake. So at this point, I got to the lake, but I didn't want to sound like a crazy person while I was at the lake talking to myself, so I decided I'd do a little bit of a voiceover here. So yeah, I got to the lake, and as you can see here, I'm just going to get set up. I'm going to put my trolling motor in the water, and then the wind was kind of blowing, so I'm just going to end up drifting down the lake shore, and then I'm going to anchor off and put the seat in. It's a touchy motor. So at this point I was set and I was ready to put the seat on. So it was a little bit I was moving a little bit awkwardly because I wasn't sure how stable this boat was. So if it looks like I'm just kind of moving really slow and weird, I was just kind of getting used to how the boat sat in the water. It was my first time really in it. So yeah, I'm gonna just speed up the footage here of me putting in the boat seat, and because it took me a while, I drilled the holes, and then I drilled one hole wrong, and it took me a long time to get that all figured out. So I ended up filming like 20 minutes of me trying to put this boat seat in on the water. But I'm not gonna make you guys sit through that, unlike how I have to sit through it. So yeah, um, we'll just cut to that footage now. Alright, well, I guess now the next thing to do is try and get this guy running and see what he does. Look at that! Yeah, it smokes like a 40-year-old motor. So, needless to say, I was pretty excited that this motor that was made in 1972 fired off on relatively the first pull. I was really excited to see to see how well it was gonna motor across the lake. So, it handled pretty well from my expectations. I had to do some trimming. I ended up having to fabricate a bolt that went into the tilt to kind of fix it a little bit because it had an issue where it was it was sounding like it didn't, you'll hear it, but it sounded like it wasn't in the water all the way. So I did some fidgeting around and got it trimmed and tilted, but other than that, it was in a really good shape. So I was very pleasantly surprised with the motor, and I'll let you guys hear what it was like when I first gave her a go across the lake. So it ran really well across the lake, and it wasn't necessarily, I was saying earlier, it sounded like it was not all the way in the water. It wasn't because it was cavitating. It looks like on the back of the motor, there's like a little fin above the exhaust that it looks like what I think happened was someone stood in the back of the boat while it was on the trailer, and this thing's so light, the entire trailer picked up, and when the motor hit the ground, it probably snapped that fin off, is what it looks like to me. But the exhaust is supposed to go out, but because that fin's not there, it's going up, and it's kind of, it's affecting with the fluid dynamics of it somewhat. And another reason was actually that transom had been replaced by a previous owner, and that most boats have either a 15-inch transom or a 20-inch transom, and this one had like a 17-inch transom. So I actually ended up having to go through and cut down the board so that the transom would be where it's supposed to be, and that it sat in the water. So yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised with this boat. It handled really well, and it planed really well for it being with having really nothing in the front of it and just having me in the back. Sometimes with those little boats, you have some problems with it planing right away, and so you're just kind of running with it with the bow of your boat up in the air. But I was pleasantly surprised for a $500 boat, and it ran really well, and I really honestly fell in love with this boat throughout the entire project, and I will definitely be using it more. So possibly one of the few issues that I discovered was that when run at full speed, the boat does leak a little bit. You can kind of see on the ribs and the seams that it did leak a little bit in the back. That's nothing too major. I was kind of expecting it anyways. I'll probably just end up coating the boat with Flex Seal. I mean, I know it's, it kind of sounds weird, but um, I've seen it done, and I know that it actually works really, really well. So I'm not too concerned about it leaking, and it did only seem to happen while I was running full bore across the lake, and it was, getting bumped and jostled. So while it was sitting normal, it didn't seem to really affect it too much. So something that I hadn't mentioned before is that when I bought this boat for 500 bucks, it also came with a working trolling motor, which you get some of those trolling motors, they're up to $50, $100 in themselves. So I wanted to see how well it worked, and it worked out really well. It worked perfectly, and I actually, in those small boats, I'm on a pretty small lake here, so a lot of the times I just use the trolling motor just up and down because that's my favorite method of fishing is trolling. So the trolling motor has proved very useful in both loading my boat and getting into shallow spots. I really liked it. So basically, this was just an overall really good find. I was able to find this for a nice low price, and when you look at a function of a boat, it floats. It didn't sink. The motor ran. It came with a trolling motor and anchor and ropes and a trailer. So overall, it was a pretty good deal, and I'm pretty happy with it. And like I said, it's my first. It's my first boat, but I've definitely fallen in love with it. It might need a paint job someday, and it might get a paint job. I haven't decided yet, but yeah. Overall, I was really pleased with this boat. I had a lot of fun doing this project, and I also had a lot of fun just sharing it with you guys. So thank you for watching. If you want to watch some more content like this or leave some suggestions, I filmed this portion with a GoPro, obviously. And if you have any suggestions on like something I should do with the GoPro or something I should do with my boat or anything else, just leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you and we'll do it. So I'm looking forward to this summer. I'm thinking it's going to be very nice, fun, and productive. And yeah, I'd like to thank you guys once again for viewing the video, and I'll see you in the next one.